moving on to the
Let's get
most
this over and done
exciting
with.
part of this episode today. And you know what? Something that I think all Springbok fans needed just going into this World Cup to check that last box, because we did get smoked by All Blacks earlier this year in the Rugby Championship. And to be honest, going into this game, I'm always confident. I'm always optimistic with the Springboks. But it was in the back of your head, you're like, the All Blacks are the standard, okay? But to witness this, I was like, holy shit, we are 100%
The real deal.
no one, bar no one, the favorites going into this World Cup. 35-7 at Twickenham. Again, I also wrote down here, this is the ultimate game of rugby. Like when you talk about rugby, for me, it's Springboks versus New Zealand at Twickenham. Like Twickenham is the home of rugby for me. And those are the two teams. Those two teams sit on top. And that, like, man, that spectacle, 82,000 sold out. And the Springboks go do that.
Friday evening, mate, the beers would have been flowing. It would have just been the most insane. It was good conditions by the look of it. It would have been an incredible atmosphere. I hear you, mate. I completely hear you, and you should be full of confidence. You can look at it the other way. For me, was it the worst thing in the world that the All Blacks got beaten convincingly by the Springboks? Probably not. Probably a massive reality check for the All Blacks team. Now, for the Boks, massive win, go into that World Cup, and not what they've actually done now. On top of that, it's a bit of extra pressure on their shoulders to maintain that form and continue that on. For me, you wouldn't, I'll say it again, South Africa they couldn't do anything wrong, mate. They were,
It started for me with the forwards. Like, and we've said it every time. I'm so glad that Malcolm Marx and Kitsy aren't part of the bomb squad anymore, because they're having that same effect that they would have when the bomb squad came on. They're having that effect from kickoff. Those guys are involved in everything. Turnovers, tackles, carrying the ball up. Like Marx and Kitsoff from kickoff are Springboks favorites going into every game.
Yeah.
And you mentioned it. You said, well, if they're having this impact off the bench, why can't they have it from the start? And I mean, that's been happening, and it's fucking working for them.
Mate, you're 6, 7, and 8. Khaleesi, Du Toit, and Vermeulen. Like, I'm sorry, that combination there in current form, again, you wouldn't probably pick any other players, currently that are playing. Malcolm Marx, whether he's off the bench, he's going to have impact. Whether he starts, he's going to have impact. I wrote down a few things here. I jotted down a few things. And the one thing that, when watching that game, one thing that really struck me was South Africa was so fluent. So they executed everything so well. And I was watching the forward. We joke about, our forward chat. Every line out, mate, hit his jumper, pinpoint. They were wrapping around. They exploited what I feel was the All Blacks' weaknesses. Now, a couple of the tries there was Malcolm Marx on that short side. It was a line out. The All Blacks just committed, because obviously having such a strong pack, South Africa, they obviously thought catch, drive, maul, push over, and they caught him off guard, went down that short side as 2-on-1. I think Aaron Smith was the
against
defender.
Malcolm Marx. Yeah, he's not tackling him.
Exactly the same thing. Line out, caught the ball, came down. If you watch this back, all the All Blacks just go, as soon as that play hits the floor, they in this maul, and then they've just heard a roar from the crowd, and they've gone,
oh shit,
and the try's gone over.
Yeah.
Just caught. It's quite clear that South Africa did their homework and executed their plays perfectly.
It's funny that now that you said it, and it's just ringed on me, because there was like the penalties in the first half were ridiculous against the All Blacks, but like 5 or 6 of them were early pushing in the line out. So from Springboks coming down, so it was obviously drilled into the All Blacks' heads. Any line out in their 22 that they're defending, Springboks are going to maul it. So they're obviously trying to get on the front foot there, but obviously going too soon. And then maybe in the back end, because those tries were in the back end of the second half.
Yeah,
they were waiting too long, but then still all committing, and the Springboks were then breaking off to score those tries. And again, like changing what everyone thinks that the Boks are going to do. They can show that they've got this other gear that they can kind of step into. And I was joking with all my Kiwi mates. I was like, mate, we didn't even climb out of third gear because it looked
Yeah.
like everything they did, like you said, executed really well. So it makes it look kind of easy.
And then I just want to touch quickly on the on Moody, the 20-year-old centre you guys had, mate. That no try that he scored, the potential or the talent he showed, the balance of his running, everything that he just did, it's just, I feel like, set his international career up, because that, on that stage in front of that many people against the All Blacks, to be able to do that and score that try, yes, it wasn't given. What a confidence boost for a young lad, man, 20 years old, and looks like a freak of a player.
But it's one of those ones, yeah, it wasn't given, but everyone saw what he did.
Yes.
Like that's
just what I mean. It was
yeah.
it was the footwork, it was the balance of him running. Man. Anyway, yeah, he good on him. Good on him.
Really exciting to see that center pairing, because Andre Esterhuizen, man, I think his first carry like ran straight through Geordie Barrett. I've been talking Geordie Barrett up this whole season. And for him to do that, like the guy's legs, he's massive. So and what he's brought in since moving to Harlequins, I feel like, is because they have an emphasis on attack, and it's not running at faces, you run at spaces. You're running at the player, but that last little step that gets the weaker arm, and he's just busted straight through there. He's added a bit of ball skill as well, so he can pass the ball nicely both ways. But man, him and Kane Moody together, like if Damien de Allender and Jesse Krill are starting, man, those guys are pushing hard. Lucanio Arms is also waiting there to come back in. Man, that's beautiful.
Your center, your strength and depth in your centers is next level, mate. And unfortunately, 2 players are missing out there each game, and it's a tough one. It's great to have that strength, but
that's when you go, we're winning the World Cup back to back.
That's it. 100%, 100%, mate. 100%.